I just stopped running. I was just like, I have no time. Like, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I was, at one point, I was running like 4 to 5 miles like every morning.
Jeez,
almost.
Yeah, you were doing a lot of running.
So, and I liked it, but it's just like when I'm working 50 to 60 hours a week, I can't.
It's hard to find time for it, yeah. Because you're not getting paid to run.
Right.
You know, and the running is not going to pay your bills.
Right.
Keep food in your child's stomach. So it's like, you know, when it comes down to it, it's like, I guess I need to work instead.
Yeah, because, I mean, when I had dropped like 50 pounds. So, I mean, I had lost a lot of weight. Yeah,
you did. You had it was very noticeable.
So it's like at this point, it's like I know that I need to go do it. Mm-hmm. I just haven't yet. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, once you lose your steam, it's real hard to hop back up on that horse. I mean, we've had this conversation a few times, but like, you know, I'm probably the world's worst about, you know, being like, I'm going to go to the gym every day, and I'll do it. I'll go to the gym 2 hours a day every day, do it for like 8 months, and just like, fuck it. I don't want to do it anymore. And like, my thing is like, I always have this, I have this habit, and it's not just with weight loss and weightlifting, it's with almost anything. It's like, I'll get like halfway done with something and be like, that's good enough. Just because it's better than what it was. I'm like, I guess I'm done now. My thing is, you know, I had all that stuff going on with my thyroid, and I mean, it's still ongoing. It you know, it's not going to change. But my biggest concern was my heart.
No,
because my heart was the thing that kind of tipped me off. It tipped this whole thing off.
No.
Because I just had, you know, I had my heart rate skyrocketed, and I want to get back to the point. I want to get to the point where I feel normal enough that I feel like I can go to the gym without anything happening.
Right.
You know, like I don't want to be like doing flat dumbbell presses and then just like
drop them on your head
and drop them on my fucking face because my heart stopped. But like I'll get like 3 or 4 days, like good days, and then like I have one day where I just feel very like faint and like very just kind of uneasy.
No.
And I think a lot of it is anxiety.
No.
I think a lot of it is psychosomatic.
No. Going to the gym and exercise might help with that though.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Also, I would like for it to kind of cool off a little bit because, you know, me and Mary bought bikes, and we went and rode them. I think we rode them twice.
Did you go to Silver Comet?
We rode the Greenbelt once, and then
That's
we rode.
nice over there.
It is super nice. And then we rode the Silver Comet, and then like the next week after that, I had like this my heart like because at the time I was still going to the gym, so I was going to the gym every day for 2 hours a day, and we were riding our bikes, and. Like, I remember I had just come home from the gym. I had showered and everything. I went to go sleep. And, like, my heart beat weird. I don't know how to explain it. It had one weird beat.
Yeah.
And I just, like, I don't know. It freaked me out. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Is this it? Like,
yeah.
And ever since then, I just haven't been back. So...
It has been cooling off, though. The week before, it was really fucking hot.
God, it was so hot.
Yeah, but this week, it hasn't been too bad. Like, in the morning, like, I stepped outside. I was like, oh, it feels pretty good out here this morning.
Well, Mary actually told me that next week, we're supposed to have extreme heat again. So
you know, that's what Allison told me. She's like, has it always been this hot? I was like, yes, it has always been this hot. I grew up in a house without air. It has always been this hot. Trust me.
Oh, man. You remember, like, having to sleep downstairs? Because, like, it was unbearable.
I remember I would open up both of the windows on either side of the room and put the fan on the opposite side pointing towards me to pull the air through that window and push it out the other one.
Yeah. It would get so hot up there. It would get so... Because, like...
I remember Allison being like, there's no... Like, the first time she came over and, like, saw her, she's like, there's no sheets on your bed, and there's, like, no pillow. I was like, yeah. For a good reason.
Yeah,
like,
I have to sleep almost completely nude so that I don't die of heat stroke in the middle of the
night. And I told her, I was like, you know, I don't think we had AC in the log cabin either growing up.
I'm sure we did. But I remember it was very hot upstairs there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a fucking heat box up there.
I think that in the log cabin, I'm pretty sure that the AC is only there's only vents downstairs. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there are no vents in the upstairs.
Could you imagine running like HVAC through a log cabin?
Oh yeah.
Or like running any type of like electrical through like a log cabin.
Yeah.
That would be fucking horrific.
How does that even work? Because, like, the log cabin we're talking about is like a straight-up log cabin.
Yeah, like a Lincoln log cabin.
Not like a log cabin like
a Gatlinburg.
Like a Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge, log cabin where somebody bought their wife a cabin on the side of a mountain so we can rent it out and it can be so cute.
Yeah.
No, this is like a real log cabin.
Like a real-life log cabin.
Paul Bunyan-ass house that we lived in.
Like, the room that I lived in for a long time, like, the two beams weren't, like... joisted together properly.
Yeah.
So there's a crack like that big. You can like look outside and see the outside.
Also, like, we had like in the bathroom, the wall in the bathroom was like rough sewn wood. Yeah. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Like if you like ran your hand across it, you get all kinds of splinters. But now it's really nice.
Yeah.
After all the three little hellions moved out of it or whatever, and we switched houses with our grandma. Our grandma lives there now, and now it's like this.
It looks like Cracker Barrel.
Well, yeah, just about. Yeah. I mean, it looks like it would be on the cover of a magazine, specifically about log cabins.
Right.
Just. I don't know. She really turned it into a
log cabin.
Into a log cabin. I actually like that house quite a lot.
I do too.
It's very homey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like as soon as you like step inside, like it's not like everything's. I don't want to say it's like compact because that's not the right word I'm looking for.
It's a very intimate setting.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
And I like how open it is now. Because remember, you had the stairs, like you walk in the front door and you had that staircase that goes to the upstairs, and then like that room on the left that used to have a full wall from floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
But they have since turned that into a half wall.
Yeah.
So now you walk in and you have like
when it started out, it was a half wall. Are you talking about the one up directly upstairs above the living room? It used to be a half wall.
Really?
They turned it into a full wall.
Well, when they had us?
When they had us.
Probably a good idea. Because we definitely would have jumped off of it. Like, I can tell you right now, we would have jumped off of it.
Like, you see that couch right there?
Yeah, I was just thinking in my head, like, I bet I could jump to that
couch. You've been hell in a cell.
Yeah. We had talked about that before, but I watched a video the other day of Mankind and Undertaker talking about that fight.
No.
And
is it like them, like they're both older and they're like sitting there talking? Yeah, I've seen that video before too. Yeah.
It was just crazy because like they had no idea. Like almost nothing went the way they had planned.
Yeah, no, it was.
And like it's crazy how much of that like was just kind of were kind of vamping it, ad-libbing as they were going along. And he got up there and told Undertaker to throw him off of the top of the cell. And they're like having a discussion like at the top of the cell, and Undertaker's like, "I'm not fucking doing that." It's just like, do it. When he picks him up, the craziest thing is that he throws him off the top of the cell and he falls like 30, 40 feet.
It's a long way down.
He crashes through that fucking table and they're carrying him out on a stretcher. Yeah. And I don't know how much of that was like theatrical or like how much of that was like he actually needed to be on a stretcher. But then he got off the stretcher and goes back to the ring. He climbs up to the top again, and then Undertaker picks him up and slams him through the roof of that thing. Yeah. I think that was when he got hurt the worst.
Yeah, that's when his fucking tooth.
Yeah, his tooth. I had misunderstood how his tooth ended up in his nostril.
It like came up through his gums, right?
It shot it through his lip.
That's fucking wild.
I was thinking maybe he like popped out of his mouth and just happened to land in his nostril. No, it shot through his lip and lodged itself in his nostril. I mean, you want to talk about dedication to the craft.
Well, I mean, like, I had landed on, like, wrestling the other day, and I was like, let's see kind of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because it's like the golden age, like, was, like, that era.
Yeah.
Like, the Attitude Era. Mm-hmm. Like, where you had, like... Hulk Hogan was like in the WCW.
Yeah, and you had like Macho Man. Macho Man went to WCW.
Macho Man and Hulk Hogan were both WCW.
Were they both?
Yeah.
I thought one of them quit and went to the other organization.
I think Macho Man went earlier than Hulk Hogan did back to WCW or back to WWE at the time.
I got you.
But you had like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
And you had like all of these like great wrestlers, and you had these matches like the Hell in the Cell match.
Was Stone Cold a part of that era? Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he was.
Macho Man?
Yeah, his big thing was he was wrestling. I think his big storyline there at the time that kind of set him apart from everybody else was that he was wrestling Vince McMahon. So he was wrestling the boss. Like he had like a story arc.
Yeah.
Where he was fighting the boss.
Yeah, I remember like I've seen clips before they were like dumped concrete in his car and like he beat him up in the hospital or something like that.
There was one where Vince McMahon like came down to the ring because the match didn't end up the way it was supposed to, like on accident. Like somebody got thrown out and like they were supposed to get back in, but their feet touched the ground. Like one of those deals. He came down the ring like all mad, and then he went to go get in the ring and he tore both quads at the same time.
Getting into the ring.
Then so he's just like sitting there against the ropes, like yelling at him, and all the wrestlers are like looking at him.
Why are you sitting down?
So like I like watching all that kind of stuff because that reminds me of like when I was growing up. Because like there was WCW and there was WWE, and it's really a shame that Chris isn't here this morning.
Yeah. Chris was supposed to join us this morning, everybody, but when he found out we were recording at 7 a.m., he was like, nah, never mind.
And then they had the other one was called ECW, and ECW was like
I don't know if I remember
that was
ECW.
like extreme wrestling.
Yeah.
So like they were the people that had like the bats wrapped in like barbed wire.
Oh,
and, like
yeah,
they were like hitting people with like fluorescent light tubes.
Yeah.
But like one of the things is like one of the ones I always remember was like where they wrestled. It was like a 2-tiered like place that they were wrestling. It wasn't very big. And there was like a balcony like up above the ring.
Yeah.
Like an extra like 15 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And this guy like goes out into the crowd and he like disappears while the other guy's like laying in the ring. And then the guy like swimming through the crowd up top, and he gets up on the balcony and jumps like 25 feet out into the ring.
Yeah.
And this is like not really like far enough to like hit the guy, but he like slaps him on the
head. You imagine if he like got up on the edge of the railing, whatever, and went to jump, but his feet slipped.
I just like imagine like getting up there and going,
never mind. That's crazy because you have to commit.
Yeah.
You go there
you can't get back down.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you got up there and like, you know, everybody's
they're going to boo you.
Oh yeah, your career is fucking over if you puss out. But the thing is though, like I bet if you get up there and like the adrenaline's going and everything like that, and you like the crowd's hyping you up or whatever.
Yeah.
And just being a guy, I understand. Like you're like fuck yeah, dude. It's like it never passes through your head.
All the crowd is thinking is like, oh my god, this is getting ready to happen.
Yeah. You remember that video I sent you a while back where those guys? It was like an amateur wrestling thing, and it looked like it was going on in like a school gymnasium or something. And one dude, like so there was a guy laying on a table, right?
Yeah.
And the other wrestler, he like climbed up the wall, like one of the like support beams for the entire structure.
He's
like
walking across that I-beam.
Yeah, he climbs up that, and then he gets on to like an I-beam, like a lateral beam on the side of the wall. He's way up there. Like he's got to be 50 feet in the air, and he's like, there's nowhere for him to stand on this I-beam. He's like got his arms outstretched. He's like kind of like sidling, up against the wall. So he goes to jump off and land on the guy on the table and totally misses.
Yeah, he overshoots it real bad.
He overshoots it by about 5 feet. Like, he's about 10 feet off the ground when he realizes, like, oh no, like, I'm not going to land. And he tries to, like, turn his body, because he's fucking, like, spread eagle. He turns his body, and he is just all shoulder right into the...
elbow and shoulder.
Elbow and shoulder right into the ground. And he's just laying there, just...
writhing
in pain. He probably can't fucking breathe because the air got knocked out of him. I said that to you. I said, motherfucker thought he was mankind. And he said, well, now he's kind of a man.
He did that for tens of people.
Oh, ooh.
You know, there's like that one guy. The guy's like, he's like, oh my fucking God.
Having the best night. That video reminded me of, you know, when I used to work at you know, putting around there in town. It was like a golf cart shop or whatever. We had a guy bring in his golf cart, like right at the end of the day. He was like going on a hunting trip, and he was kind of like, he more or less begged us. He was like, please, you know, can you fix?
Did he have one of the ones that had the lift on it with the all-terrain tires?
It wasn't so much like a golf. It looked like it was closer to like a small side-by-side.
Yeah.
It might have actually been a bad boy buggy.
Yeah.
But me and Ryan were like, yeah, sure. Like, we know what the problem is. We'll fix it real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm standing back there, and Ryan's my boss. Ryan is standing on the back of this thing. So it's kind of hard to explain like how this situation was set up. We had taken the roof off of the golf cart. There's 4 posts that hold the roof up. Mm-hmm. We took the back 2 off. So the back 2 are off, which means that the roof of the golf cart is sagging a little bit. Mm-hmm. So what we did was we propped up that roof with a broom. Yeah. So we had like the brush end and the floor of the...
OSHA approved.
Yeah. We had the brush end and the floor of the golf cart and like the handle end just kind of holding up the roof. So Ryan is he's standing on the back of the golf cart, and he's trying to drill into something. Yeah. He's like bent over drilling into this little piece of metal or whatever it is. And it's a piece of box metal, right? Mm-hmm. So you know with box metal, you drilling into it, you break through the first half, and then there's a lot of travel for the drill bit, and then it hits the other end.
Right.
Well, when he broke through the first bit, he punched the drill. You know, it slips through all the way through that box still, and it hits the other end. But it shakes the golf cart a little bit, and the roof slips, like the broomstick slips like this, like back towards the back of the golf cart, and the roof pushes it down straight into the gas pedal. The fucking golf cart was still turned on. And so this thing has so much fucking torque. It's unbelievable. It just shoots right out from under Ryan. I mean, like I swear, it was like fucking Looney Tunes. Like, it shot off, and like Ryan hung in the air for a little while. Well, he fell over, and he landed on his arm, on his shoulder and his arm. He's laying there going, oh, you know, knock the wind out of him a little bit. Now I'm over there. I'm trying to talk to him like, did you hit your head? No, because that was my main concern. He hit his head on the fucking concrete floor. No. And he's like, no. He's like, I think I'm okay. Until he got up and he kind of walked it off a little bit. We finished doing what we were doing. And like 10, 20 minutes later, he's like, man, my arm hurts so bad. He was he's like, oh, it's just like, it's really killing me. I was like, you might have pulled something or sprained something, maybe fractured your shoulder or something. No. He's like, no, I don't think anything's broken. Well, the next day, I got a text from him that he wasn't going to be in because he was in the hospital because his tibia had completely sheared.
Yay!
It had broken completely away.
Yay!
So, like, when you think about it,
was walking around like that?
He was walking around like he went to bed that way. So, like, you know, your tibia goes from your elbow to your shoulder, and you have like a ball end at the top that goes into your shoulder, like into your rotator cuff. Well, his tibia had completely broken all the way through at the bottom of that ball. Yeah, and that's a big bone, right? Like that's up at the top there. That's got to be like 4 or 5 inches in diameter.
Yeah, what did they do? They just put it into a cast and like don't move it.
I think they had to do a little surgery.
I would have. Well, yeah, I would imagine they'd probably have
they
to
go
go
in. Reattach it because it's floating around.
That's true. Yeah, so I guess they'd have to go in and probably like screw it back into place.
Yeah, I think he got 2 screws.
Yeah.
And then he was out of commission for a little while.
I never do this until my wife told me, because she works in the OR sometimes. It's like when they're doing like orthopedic stuff like that, they're using like DeWalt.
Oh yeah, they're like drills. Yeah, they don't have like some special medical like drill impact driver.
Somebody comes in there with like a Makita. They bring in the maintenance guy.
He's like, hand me that 10mm socket. We're gonna put this guy's hip back together. It's like when they put rods and stuff in people's legs.
They got like a dead blow. They're just like whacking it.
That's one of the worst things I've ever seen. Is like when that guy had a rod in his leg, and like it was time to take it out, and so it was just a big piece of all thread, is what it looked like. And on the end, they like screwed on this piece of metal so that the doctor would have something to hit. Yeah. And he's got like this fucking mallet, and he's going bam, bam.
Yeah. I had to hit it one time. Go. It's like, great. Now we got to clean this puke out of this wound.
Call someone else. Call someone else. I can't do this. I was thinking the other day actually about my broken bones, because I've broken both of my arms, and I think that the one I broke at your track and field practice was the worst break. The first one wasn't quite as bad, but it was when I rode that street bike down that fucking dirt road
with no suspension.
With no suspension. Our friends that live down the street from us,
it's like beating you to death going down this hill.
there was this dirt road that went back up through the utility easement there. And I don't know if it was supposed to be like more development for the neighborhood, or if it was just access to that, because it was a utility.
Yeah,
right?
I think at that time it was just access to the utility line.
Yeah. Well, it was this. It starts out. This dirt road starts out as this huge hill.
Yeah.
I mean, what, 400, 500 feet?
It's a long way. Yeah.
And it's the same grade all the way up.
Yeah.
But after the years, rain and everything, is like very pitted and bumpy and everything, and we used to love to ride our bikes down it. And if you have a little dirt bike with some suspension, is no problem.
No.
But I wanted to ride it, and I didn't have my bike, so I got one of the street bikes, which is a completely solid frame with no suspension whatsoever. Right. It's for cruising around on like a flat trail.
No.
And I got up to the top of that thing.
Didn't Justin tell you I wouldn't do that?
Justin said, "Don't do that." And I said, "It'll be fine." And I got going, and I think I made it about 5 feet. Yeah. And once I picked up speed, I was just like, it's like banging back and forth on the fucking thing, and I came off of it. And I remember that was so bad because I crashed. I flew off the bike, and I crashed, and I was tumbling, and I passed out. And when I came to, I was still tumbling.
You're like, oh no.
Yeah. And so I had to go home, and I'm just like covered in dirt and scrapes and scratches and everything. And I'm like, oh, my arm, my arm. I'm like a little kid. And Dad's like, you're fine. He's like, he probably just sprained it. So I'm sitting on the couch with my arm like resting on the pillow, and like it's just getting worse and worse, and my arm like ballooned. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we need to actually take him to the hospital. And I had a fracture, I think. But when I broke my arm at your track and field thing, I was riding a skateboard. No, a scooter.
A scooter, yeah.
I was riding a scooter down a drainage ditch, like a concrete drainage ditch. And, that thing's built in like segments. Yeah. So where the segments meet, there's like a little divot. Yeah. And a scooter wheel is like 3 inches in diameter. So
plastic.
It's hard plastic. So, and it's completely rigid, So I'm riding the scooter down this thing, and I go over the first like divot just fine. Yeah. But once I got up to speed and I hit that second divot, it fucking flung me off of it. And I crashed and burned. And I'm laying there, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm all right. I remember because everybody was looking at me. Yeah. And I just held up a thumbs up. And I go to push myself up off the ground, and my arm buckled. Yeah. Because it was fucking broken. And I was like, oh no. And so I just stuck my hand up, I like motioned for someone to come over and help me. And I remember we were in Marietta, and it took us forever to find a hospital.
Yeah. It was really right down the road.
Yeah.
But
I feel like we drove around for forever.
That is the worst hospital.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I got hit in the back with that shot put.
So, oh my God.
I remember, I don't know.
You have any idea how lucky you are that wasn't like 4 inches to the left?
And yeah, that was a PR for that girl. She had never thrown that far before. I thought I was safe. Like, it was like that was like an 8-foot PR.
Like that thing would have hit you in the fucking spine, dude. It would have been it.
Yeah, if it had been 3 inches over.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I got hit in the back. I had been over to pick mine up, and like I said, I was like way out of the way. Like there was, I mean, I was like, there's no way that she's gonna throw this far.
Yeah.
And so I remember like standing up, and the person standing in front of me is going.
Like eyes are big. You like saw their face first.
And then I just like, it felt like somebody just punched me as hard as they could.
Yeah. Like
right in my bottom left 2 ribs.
Yeah. To knock the wind out of you?
Yeah, like knocked the wind out of me, and I was like, like.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, okay, I think I'm okay. And then like I just kind of sat down. I was like, it's still hurting. I couldn't get comfortable.
Yeah.
And then my coach he's like, I'm taking you back to the college. It's like you have got to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because like at the time, that's when I was at Kennesaw, we didn't have a track.
Yeah.
So we had to go to like a high school to go throw the shot, which is like 30 minutes away.
Oh.
So I had to like get back in the van, like they drove us all there, and I'm like kind of like writhing around. In the van.
It's like getting worse.
Yeah. And so we get there, and I'm sitting on the trainer's table, and they're like, "You have got to go to the hospital." Because I was like, I was going to go home. I was like, what are they going to do? There's nothing they can do for broken ribs.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you need to make sure that you're not pissing blood.
Yeah, like you didn't like puncture a kidney or like rupture your spleen.
So like I get there. And like we get to Kennestone, I take that back. So Allison comes and gets me, and she drives me to. It was like a, where was it? It was like a sports, like a PA office, like a physical therapy office or whatever. And they're like, no, you need to go to the emergency room.
Yeah.
And so she takes me to the emergency room.
Like several hours have passed at this point.
And we get there, and like I'm just like in like a cold sweat, and I'm flush.
That cold sweat is when you know something's wrong. Yeah.
And then and of course there's like some tweaker like next to us.
Some lollipop head.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I hurt my. He's like, I broke my ribs, and he's like he's like fucking around with like like the snack machine, like bending over and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he like sits back in the wheelchair, and he's like bitching real loud, and I'm just like, I'm like not saying anything.
You can't even fucking focus.
And then so we like finally get in there, and they take my blood pressure, and my pulse is like 40 beats per minute. Like somehow or another it has dropped.
Yeah, because you're probably about to pass out.
Yeah, and they were like, we need to get you taken care of immediately.
Yeah.
So like they put me in the CT machine, and so but they've like pumped me full of drugs first.
Yeah.
And so they put me in the CT machine, and they were like, oh yeah, like you've bruised your kidney pretty bad. And they're like, you got really lucky that like if it wasn't like 3 inches to the right, like it hit you in the fucking spine.
Yeah.
And then
probably paralyzed you.
Yeah, so they're like, you're gonna piss blood for a little bit, but they're like, we don't think it's gonna be
anything bad.
So, and then at that point, like they had given me like Percocet and like something else.
Yeah.
And like, but it was like I still felt it, like I was still in a lot of pain. And then so like they came in and like
that like pain that's in your body is very hard to get on top of.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so they gave me more shit.
Yeah.
And then I'm like laying there, and I finally like go to sleep. And like the doctor comes in, and he can't wake me up.
Uh-oh.
Allison said the guy's like slapping me in the face, and like he like opened up my eye and was like shining the flashlight in my eye, and I still like passed out.
Did we fucking kill this guy?
And so like they finally get me to wake up, and I remember the doctor going, oh thank God. And then so like I hadn't eaten anything since like noon, and by this point it's like 2:00 in the morning. So like I'm starving, and like I'm still high as a fucking kite, and I can't feel anything. Yeah. And then so I'm like walking around, like bending over, picking stuff up, and they're like, the doctor's like, you have got to stop.
Yeah. Just sit down, be still. Yeah.
And then so she took me to Wendy's, And I remember at the time, there was like when they had the dollar menu. So there's like all this shit you could get for $1. Yeah. And I ordered like 20 fucking things. And I remember getting back to the apartment and just sitting down in the chair and like eating all of it.
Yeah.
Except for like I had a chicken sandwich left at the end. And I passed out with the chicken sandwich like on my chest.
Just sleeping with your mouth open. Just humanity. Just the humanity of it. So you bruised your kidney, but did you break your ribs?
Yeah, I broke the bottom right 2 ribs. Or bottom left 2 ribs.
So what did they do for that?
Nothing.
You just have to let it kind of...
You let it heal.
Really?
Yep.
So what about like people like they like snap a fucking rib? What do you do? They can't just have that thing floating around in there.
I mean, I would imagine they'd have to go and do surgery and attach it, but mine were like fractured. They weren't like broken.
Yeah. Ugh. I know that I've heard before that broken ribs one of the worst ones, just because the ribs are such a fucking structural part of
Yeah, well, like anytime you breathe, like it hurts. Yeah. Because like you're expanding your rib cage. You're putting pressure on it. Like I got lucky because mine were like the bottom 2.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't like up here.
Yeah.
Where like that would automatically like hurt a lot more. But like laughing or anything that would like shake it, like it hurt a lot.
Yeah. I just remember my father-in-law, he was trying to I think he was trying to break down some wood so he could like throw it in like a dumpster or something. I don't remember the exact specifics of what he did, but I think he was trying to stomp on a piece of wood to break it, and when he stomped on it, it flipped up real fast and smacked him in the ribs.
No.
And it broke like 3 of his ribs.
What a way. Imagine going to the doctor and they're like, what happened?
I had this fucking Wile E. Coyote moment.
Like, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
You imagine, like, if it was a woman that did that and their husband was sitting there, the doctor's like, sure.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
Like, sir, I'm going to need you to leave the room so I can talk to your wife, please.
It's like, if I've had that thought before, like, if Mary ever, like, fell down the stairs or something, you know, like, because we have, like, these 2 rambunctious animals that we live with. It's entirely possible. Like... You know, how am I gonna... Like, you guys have just got to believe me. I know I look like the prime suspect. I get that. The physiognomy matches.
That's those 2 over there.
Yeah. I could give you a description. There were 8 legs involved.
So, when you worked at the golf cart shop, do you feel that working on, like, a electric motor is easier than working on a small combustion engine?
Not always, because a combustion engine really only needs 3 things. There's only 3 things that can go wrong with a combustion engine.
You need spark.
You need spark, fuel, and air.
Right.
So if it's not running, it's because it's not getting one of those 3 things. Right. You know, it could be any number of mechanical failure causing it.
But it could be compression with the valve.
But there's, you know, each, like, a combustion engine from little to very large all run off the same principles. So usually the issue there is tracking down like the culprit, right? You know, and more often than not, it's, you know, like a
carburetor.
The carburetor needs to be cleaned out, or you know, butterfly valve is stuck, something like that. Right. But with an electric motor, it could be any fucking number of things,
right?
Because there's no, like, you know, with that, you know. Of course, you know, Dad had taught us this, but, you know, working that particular job taught me the same thing, was, you know, always start with the little stuff or the easiest stuff first. Don't ever, like, immediately dive into what the worst possible thing could be. Because, you know, you do that, you're going to likely cause a bigger issue. But I will say, I also prefer to work on combustion engines because I knew that I wasn't going to touch something and be electrocuted to death. With the electric golf carts, we had like...
So do you leave them plugged into the battery in order to troubleshoot?
No. Well, for trying to use a computer or whatever, yes. But you know,
so you can run diagnostics on it?
Yeah, some of them can, Like the newer models you can. You can plug a little handheld thing and it'll tell you what's going on.
So like the same thing you do with like your car?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, some of the older ones, you couldn't really do that. And then, like, you would have, like, you could disconnect the batteries on, like, some of the older, like, 36-volt models, but it would still, like, the heat sink and, like, the CPU and everything would kind of retain a little bit of charge because you have capacitors in there. And so if you accidentally, like, you know, touched your...
It'll fuck you up.
Yeah, if you touched, like, a wrench across, like, 2 connectors or 2 prongs or something, it could scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
one of the worst things, or one of the things I hated most was, we would get people's golf carts in there, and we would add watering systems because they're deep cycle batteries. So you have to add water to them.
Right. Is that for like cooling effects?
It's got something to do with the what do you call it? Like so to describe how these batteries operate is like you have, there's like the acid in there, but you have those plates, those plates that are going through the top, and that's like what the current travels through. And if it's low on fluid, there's nothing for the current to travel through.
Travel across, yeah.
And so you fill them up with water. They had these little like twist off knobs on the top, and you just twist them off, and then like right there is fucking battery acid.
Dumb.
So like we would get these people's carts in. They want us to add one of these watering systems, and like you're very careful with it, but like sometimes you get a little splash of battery acid on you.
Just a little touch.
Yeah. And like I would have like just like these little like tiny pock marks like all over my knuckles and my fingertips, and like so many of my shirts like from
had little
right here around like the waistline or whatever just had holes all in them. So just some things you didn't have to worry about when you're working with a combustion engine.
Well, that's because I'd been working on. We'd been having issues with the weed eater, and now that I've become older.
Oh, so like is it like a 2-cycle thing?
Yeah, it's a 2-cycle.
Yeah, so those are a little easier because you have oil and gas all goes to the same place.
So I replaced, initially I took the carburetor apart and cleaned it.
Yeah.
And it didn't fix it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, is it the spark plug? So I took the spark plug out, and like the spark plug had never been changed.
Yeah.
And then so I like cleaned it with some sandpaper, like put it back in, got it to start, but like when you'd open up the throttle on it, it would run, but when it would go to idle, it'd die.
It would just shit out.
Yeah, it would just shit out.
It sounds like an air intake problem.
So I checked the muffler. I opened up the carburetor, so that way when it's sitting there idling, you're getting more air as opposed to like running it real rich.
Yeah. And
then didn't fix the issue. And then so I was like, I'm just going to tear it down. Yeah. So I had put a new spark plug in. There was a new carburetor. I ordered a new carburetor, put a new carburetor, and I adjusted the idle on the carburetor so that it was running more rich.
Yeah.
And then like it cranked one time, ran for about 10 minutes, and then stopped. And I couldn't get it to start again.
So fucking annoying.
And then so I test compression on the valve, and I can't get it above like 25 psi.
How much is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be like 110.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And then so I was like, well, fuck. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And then so
usually that's like an adjustment thing, isn't it?
No. So most of the time, what that is like when I took the crankshaft off and like broke the engine down.
Yeah.
Like pulled it apart. And when I looked at the piston, it was just fucking scored, like all up and down the piston.
Really?
There was all this carbon buildup on the top of the piston head.
Oh, and it had just been dragging it all up inside of that.
And then so like I look inside the valve, and it's just scarred up inside there.
Yeah.
So I was like, this thing's fucked. Like
so
I can't.
It's never going to have compression again.
It's never going to have fucking compression again.
Yeah. Well, what you could do is just like lather the inside of it with JB Weld, and then get one of those bits to go on the end of your drill with sandpaper, and then just like sand it out. Like the most redneck fix you could possibly do.
Well, I know that like online you can order like a new head and everything.
Yeah.
But I was like, for that price, I'd just
get a new
fucking new one.
Yeah.
I was just disappointed that like I spent all this money like on a new carburetor, and like the only nice thing that came out of it is now that I have the adjustment tools for the carburetor to adjust the idle on it. Because it used to be that the carburetors for the old style weed eaters and like the small 2-cycle engines, there was just a Phillips head screw that you could adjust. You could adjust the throttle so that you could run more air through the throttle, or adjust the governor on it.
Right.
And then you'd also adjust the idle for how the carburetor is running, so that you would get more fluid, or you'd get more, that mix.
Whichever way you need it.
Yeah. So at least I have those now.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, if you've ever been over to like somebody's house, like an old man's house, or whatever, and like seen like their shed, they just have all these tools.
That's what mine's turning into.
It's because each one of those tools was like a thing they had to get for a very specific problem they were having, and that they never had again.
Right. My big thing is that I've been wanting to learn how to weld.
I've always wanted to know. I've always wanted to learn that.
I think I'm gonna watch some YouTube videos. I'm gonna teach myself how to stick weld.
You're gonna get a little.
Because you can get one from Harbor Freight for like $30.
That's all the welding that they did in the gas industry is stick welding.
No.
Or that I saw.
Well, yeah. From what I have learned online is that stick welding works a lot better for like stuff that's dirty.
Yeah.
As opposed to like MIG and TIG welding.
Where it has to be like a nice clean surface.
Right.
Yeah.
Where like stick welding, like you have like the stick and it has like the flux on the outside of it, and then you have I guess the stick is literally just like, it's stainless steel or steel. I can't remember.
I can't remember.
But anyway, like you feed it in.
Yeah.
And then like, I can't remember. Yeah, you drag it across. So like you're applying heat to your stick, and like as you're like dragging it across or whatever. Yeah. So like the stick would go down through where it's at, and then you create that arc across across to like wherever like your bare metal is.
Yeah.
And that's what's creating the heat, and then you're actively melting that.
Is that what it is? I had heard before that what happens is that you have, it's got something to do with the presence of oxygen. So like if you have a piece of metal and you stick it to a piece of metal, nothing happens. They just touch each other. But if there's no oxygen, they weld together. And it's got something to do with the flux.
Yeah.
You know, flux is always a part of welding. It's like if you're doing stick welding, the little stick that you're using has the flux on the outside that creates gas. Or if you're doing like a little, like one of those ones with the gun, and it has like the little wire that feeds through.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's feeding that wire through and providing a charge and the gas all at the same time at the end of that gun. So I think it's got something to do with that gas. Like, and if anybody's a welder, please let us know.
I know there's probably somebody that's like, no, that's not how it
works. My understanding is that you create an environment where there's no oxygen right where the metal meets, and that's what causes it to pull together. That's what I've heard. I don't know.
I had heard that, and it made sense to me I think this is the way the person explained it, is that, of course, like you ground it on like some bare metal that's also part of what that is, so that you create a short across those two. And essentially when
there's definitely some kind of electrical current.
So that electrical current searches for the ground, and then it finds the ground across what you've attached it to, and then that's how you get it to arc across the two, and it creates that extreme heat to.
Yeah, I think welding would be
I've always wanted to know how to weld.
I think it would be it's a very useful like skill to have.
I'm sure my first few welds are going to look like shit.
Oh yeah, I mean nobody did it perfectly the first time.
But I've always been especially like once I started like doing like soldering, like I know it's not the same thing,
right? Yeah,
but it's the same concept.
It's the same concept.
Yeah.
You melt the metal to make the things stick together.
Right.
Yeah. I am awful at soldering. I cannot make, like, if I've got two wires I'm trying to solder together, like, Ryan, my old boss, could do it really well. He could solder it across, and it would just be like this perfect, like, you know, there's no lumps or whatever. No. Put your little heat shrink over it, and it looks great. I just had this big, like fuck fist of, like, solder material. Like, well, it's not coming apart. It's ugly as shit, but it's not coming apart. You have like this wire that just looks like there's a peanut in it somewhere along.
Like it's got real good connection.
That is zero resistance right here at this point. Sometimes, like, speaking of like welding and everything, like sometimes on Facebook I'll come across like welding memes.
Yeah. Like
just randomly. And I always really enjoy the discourse in those comments.
No.
Because there is no way, and I've worked with welders before, they are a very specific type of person. Every single one of them are just, they're just a strange type of person. They're not like you and I.
Yeah.
I'm talking about people that do this professionally.
Yeah.
And they just, I don't know what it is. Like, they are so just, you know, invested in it.
No.
And, like, everybody likes to just, like, post, like, their work or whatever, like, in the comments, like, look at my welds. And people are like, your welds suck. And, like, But then you get some people in there who will post, like, these perfect-looking welds look like they were done by a robot or whatever. And then everybody's like, you know, how much do you get paid? And they're down there like, I get paid $80 an hour.
No.
Welders make a fuckload of money.
Yeah, if they're good.
A fuckload of money. If you're a good welder, if you're even a fucking passable welder.
No.
Like, some of the welders that I worked with in my previous job were making, like, $45, $50 an hour. And then some of them, like, depending on what specific job they were on, and, like, you know, if it's like a kind of a high priority job. I know some of those guys were getting paid hundreds of dollars an hour.
Well, I know that like the guys that do like underwater welding get paid a lot of fucking money.
Yeah. But you're also in like a pressurized suit.
No.
And we had a whole discussion about what... did you see that 3D animation about what happens to a person in an implosion? I'll have to see if I can find it and send it to you. But they had like this 3D model of like a guy. Like that, textbook model of a human with like no skin. This is like all bones and everything. And like they show like what happens. And it's just like... So the pressure, of course, pushes in on you, and it compresses your entire body down as far as it can go until there is a cavitation bubble inside of you, which is technically an explosion. So you had just so much pressure pushing in on you that the pressure that it's creating pushes back out, and you just kind of explode. So, I mean, it's not something that happens over a long period of time.
Yeah, it's very quick.
In less than an instant.
Yeah.
But I saw that video, I was just like, oh, God, what
what a way to go.
Yeah, we're just fucking jelly, man. we are just such the fucking underdogs.
Yesterday, this is kind of changing gears. Yesterday, we were looking for something to watch. And do you remember the movie Blank Check?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, so we were like watching. Is
that the one where he has a McDonald's in his room?
Yeah, so like the premise is that like this kid gets a blank check from like this guy that's been embezzling, or he's got counterfeit money that he's trying to pass off. And the guy writes him a blank check. The kid like gets on like an old Mac computer and then like writes it like in the notepad. Yeah. He puts cash and then blow it 1 million and then puts it in a printer and it like prints it onto the check. Like
somebody who has no idea how that shit works.
And then so
one of those like Xerox like printers.
And then so like he takes it and like cashes, and then like they give him $1 million cash.
Yeah.
And then he buys like this massive house, like 7 times the size of your house for like $300,000,
like an Obama estate.
Yeah, and they're like, wow, what a lot of money.
Yeah, like, $1 million. Yeah, okay. Well, that movie came out in like what, the 80s?
It was like 94.
94. No. So I mean, well, back then it would have been worth more than it is now, but not that much.
No. So like we're like that's sort of like the premise of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And then so like we're watching the movie, and like it's kind of wild to me that like there is like a, I don't want to say like a love interest because they keep showing her fucking legs. There's like
what do you mean?
There's like an FBI agent lady, and like the little kids got the hots for her or whatever, and they're always like showing like there's just many shots of her like in heels, and like they're just showing like her leg.
Wait, they have like, she like honeypotting this kid?
Not really. I mean, she's like on to the kid or whatever, right? And she's like wearing heels, and like she's got like a skirt on that's like barely covering her crotch.
Oh my goodness.
And they're like showing like right up to like where the end of the skirt is, and like the shot like the kid like looking up at her, and like I was like, weird. Like, how fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's like a lot of implied sexual tension between this kid.
I remember being like, growing up as a kid, that was like one of kind of like the first couple of movies like I remember watching.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've always had a thing for legs.
Yeah.
I was like, where did that come from? And then we were watching that movie. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I've been perverted.
This is the genesis of my perversion. It's fucking blank check.
But we were just like watching that movie, and I was like, I can't believe. And like every time like she comes on screen, like they're just showing her legs.
Yeah.
And like there's like a saxophone playing in the background.
Like a cow and chicken character? Like you never see the top half of her?
No,
just always...
like you see like the top half of her, but there's like a lot of shots where it's just like, it's like her in heels with like legs and like an ass. That's crazy. How like they've shot the scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, I understand this is the 90s. Like nobody gave a fuck, right? But
there's no harm done.
But at the same time, I was like, this is a very odd, like, obviously this child is like 9 years old.
Right.
And like this lady is like wearing very risque outfits around this child.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Is she like flirting with the kid or something, or like?
Not really. I mean, you'd have to watch it. Like, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Like, she's not like actively flirting with this kid.
Right. Yeah.
Like, but there's
they wouldn't take it that far.
Like, there's times where like the kid like goes up and he's like trying to open a checking account, and she's like, "Oh, you have to have like $200," and he's like, "Well, that's going to take 1,000,000 years." And she's like, make sure you come back and see me in 1,000,000 years. She like winks at him or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like harmless like shit like that. But it's obviously like, it's like,
still though, if you reverse the roles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then it's really fucking weird.
Yeah, then it's really fucking
like
weird.
If it was a little girl and it was just like shots of like this dude's balls hanging out. Just like from behind, just like his nuts.
Just in like some like real short shorts.
Like some fucking safari guy.
Like some khaki shorts. But like we're just like sitting there watching that movie, and I was like, who in the fuck was like, yeah, this is a good idea. Let's shoot this scene like this. This is a movie for children.
Well, the thing is though, like back then they probably didn't even consider that it was strange.
Right.
They just, they're probably like okay, look, here's the thing. I remember being a 9-year-old boy.
Yeah.
I was very interested in women.
Yeah.
Like even younger than 9 years old. Like I knew that there was something there.
Yeah. Something about him.
So like. But at the same time, it's like, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I just like, I don't know, it was like I just wanted to hump someone's leg. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. So like, as an adult and I was creating a movie, I'm probably thinking to myself, like I remember when I was a little boy, I liked girls.
Right.
So I don't think there's anything weird about a little boy, kind of having like this puppy dog love for a girl.
Right.
But like back then, like I said, they probably didn't. They didn't even think that it was like
it's a different time,
a weird thing.
Like,
yeah,
it's a different time.
It's not like That's My Boy.
No,
that Adam Sandler movie, which I don't know how they got away with, because there's a scene at the beginning, I think, where he's like, what, 11? Even? Not even?
He's no more than 13. He's no more than 13.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think he's younger than that. Well, anyway, Adam Sandler's character is having like this flashback recollection of something like this fling that he was having with
she is on a piano spread eagle.
Yeah, he's fucking her.
Yeah. like the shot that they show is like kind of like to the side, and it's obvious that this woman has like.
No, it's from behind. It's from behind.
Oh, is it from behind?
Yeah, because you're seeing, because it was during like a school assembly, and you hear like blank, 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 like on the piano, and they open up the curtains, and it shows her, and she's like got her head thrown back, like from behind, and she's obviously nude.
Yeah.
And everybody, oh, like that. No. And then she turns around, and she's like, oh my God, and then the little boy, he like leans out from the side.
Yeah.
Like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I was fucking a grown woman. That's odd.
Like, I couldn't imagine being like somebody's parent and like reading that scene and they going, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll let my kid act this scene out.
Yeah.
What about the adult woman?
Exactly. Right. It's like you read that one. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely pretend that I'm being fucking having my walls knocked down by a 10-year-old boy on a piano.
Yeah. Like, I just couldn't imagine, like, especially like being like the parent of a child, I'd be like, there's no fucking way.
No fucking way. Yeah. I would never let my kid go into show business.
No.
Not with, all that shit that's going on over there. I tell you what, you know who Jeanette McCurdy is?
That sounds familiar.
So she was the blonde girl on that show iCarly. You remember Miranda Cosgrove?
Yes.
So Miranda Cosgrove played Megan in Drake and Josh.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had her own show a little while later called iCarly.
Right.
And there was another girl in that show called, I don't remember what her character's name is, but the actress's name was Jeanette McCurdy. Sam.
Yeah.
The actress's name is Jeanette McCurdy. The reason I bring her up is she wrote a book recently, like an autobiography called "I'm Glad My Mom Died."
Yeah.
And I've really been wanting to read it because, like, from what I understand, she really like spills a lot of like the beans on like some of the like directors and stuff from Nickelodeon and like how like inappropriate they were with like.
Oh, I've heard that before, especially with Nickelodeon,
actors,
like how
especially Dan Harmon, is that his name?
Yeah, how
no, Dan Schneider.
Yeah, how perverse like some of the stuff that they were doing with those kids. Yeah, I've heard that too.
There was, I think Miranda Cosgrove even gave an account one time that she like. I think it was when they were working on Drake and Josh, actually, where
wasn't like something weird with feet.
Yeah, he like had a big foot thing.
Yeah,
like Dan Schneider like had her come into his trailer, or he went into her trailer or something. Somebody went into somebody's trailer, and like had her give him a massage with his like shirt off. This is like a little girl.
Yeah.
So. You know, and there's all manner of videos on YouTube that kind of go into this thing.
No.
Like nothing. I'm pretty sure nobody has been like caught yet, but it's well documented and well understood that something is awry.
Something is awry here. Yeah. Well, I mean, was like the whole thing that happened with like Harvey Weinstein. Mm-hmm. Like this just seemed like it's rampant in that industry.
And I believe it is. I mean, think about what they're holding over these people's heads.
Yeah.
You know, like
fame and fortune
and everything, and they get them to a point where like they're so reliant on it,
right?
Because if you take any number of these people, you know, who especially child actors who
right,
who spent their entire childhood not getting an education,
right,
not learning skills, and just being actors, those people almost always end up going off the fucking deep end.
Oh yeah,
almost always.
Well, I mean,
I can think of very few who went on to have normal lives.
Right. Well, you think like how malleable like a child is, and like how like impressionable a child is. Yeah. Like that's where almost all of your learning, like your base knowledge,
You're such
comes
a fucking
from.
Sponge,
right?
Just absorbing everything. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you would think that like all this shit that they have to go through as a kid is like, and they're very impressionable. It's like if they most kids want to like. They want to make people happy. Like, I remember, like, being a kid, like, you want to make your parents happy. Like, you want to make your grandparents happy, your coaches happy.
Right.
Like, so you would imagine...
You want people to be pleased with you.
Right. So you would imagine that, like, they're probably wanting to do the same thing for these people that are in positions of power, which, a.k.a. that's the director of, like, this show or this movie or whatever.
Right. Well, it's an authority figure in their life.
Right.
So they want to do what's going to make them happy.
Right.
And a lot of times it probably ends up being some really fucked up shit.
Right.
There was another guy that worked at Nickelodeon, and I don't remember what his name was, but he was some kind of high-up guy. I'm pretty sure he actually did get caught doing something. I know this is all very vague. I watched a video on it like a long time ago, and I didn't really retain any of the particulars. But I'm pretty sure he did get in trouble, and he either went to jail for a little while and got fired from Nickelodeon. That sounds right. But it was like some executive. It was like an executive,
really,
who would occasionally make appearances in the shows, like or like lend his voice to like a thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Nickelodeon only fired him to appease, like, the mob or whatever, because they brought him back on board like as soon as his like thing was up.
That's so wild to me that they do shit like that.
But it's because they're all in fucking cahoots together.
Yeah. I mean, just like the more that I hear about like Hollywood and like the shit that they do, it's just like just throw the whole fucking thing away.
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm surprised we haven't talked about this yet, but so there was that film that released recently called Sound of Freedom.
Oh, yeah. I heard it was really good.
There's been quite a bit of hoopla surrounding this particular film and like the creators of the film and everything. Lots of discourse around it, but the thing is, it has like broken records. Now it could be that, you know, it's the subject material of the film, and it could be that, you know, there's this growing sense of, especially among middle class people, that, you know, everyone's against them. The rich are against them, the poor are against them, the elite are against them, Hollywood's against them. This is kind of the solidarity that's building among the middle working class.
I would say it's really across all three phases of the middle class, which include lower middle class, the actual middle class, and the upper middle class. Because they're kind of getting squeezed down.
Yeah.
Like because it used to be you had like poverty, then you had lower middle class, and then you had like the middle class, and then you had upper middle class.
Right. Now it's really, there's very few who are breaking through into wealth.
Right.
And a great many more who are falling down in the poverty and destitution.
It's getting squeezed. The middle class is getting squeezed down, and the two opposite sides of that are growing.
And I think that people are starting to, they're starting to look past, or they're at least starting to realize that different economic classes are not their enemy, and it's the people who are in charge of creating policies and legislation who are the enemy.
Right.
And so like I said, there's this growing sentimentality among the middle class that the politicians and the elite, they're all in cahoots together, and the only reason that they're thinking that is because it keeps getting proven.
Right. Exactly.
So that might have a lot to do with why Sound of Freedom did so well, but. And I'm sure I don't need to go in and explain what the movie's about to anybody, but just in case, it's a movie about this group that goes and they track down child sex trafficking people and break up those rings and stuff like that.
It's based on a true story, isn't it?
It's based on a true story. So there's a lot of... It was really insane to see, and it was very, very telling that a lot of people on the left immediately started shitting on the movie and started calling it things like right-wing conspiracy, QAnon power fantasy.
No.
There's all these articles coming out that are downplaying the severity of child sex trafficking.
Right.
Why would you ever?
Why would you ever
downplay the severity of something like that?
Right.
Here's the thing. Even if it's not as big a deal as it is, it's still a deal.
Right.
And something like that, no matter how small, is a big fucking deal.
Well, it's also this is also, and I don't want to lump everybody together that is on the left side of politics. However, this is the same group of people that have stated believe all women, and then you're also going to turn around and say that child sex trafficking isn't a thing.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
What about those kids? Well, some of those kids are female.
Yeah.
Vast majority
of them are female. Are you telling me not to believe them?
Yeah.
Like it just makes no sense. The only reasonable explanation that I can come up with is that they're culpable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either that you are a part of it or you know it's happening and you're trying to hide it.
That's what it looks like.
I mean, that's what it looks like. That's
all that it can be, because there would be no other reason. There's no other logical reason that you would be opposed to either ending child sex trafficking or at the very least having a conversation about it and bringing awareness about it.
The only other explanation that I can possibly come up with, which I sincerely hope this is not the case, is that the political divide is so great and so large that it doesn't matter. Like, just whatever the right says, I'm against it. I don't care.
Yeah, it does. It honestly does seem that way sometimes. There are very, very, very few instances where I see people on both sides kind of agreeing about something.
And, I mean, that also might be that it's the people that have a voice online, because at the same time, and it's not the same thing, but have you heard that new song that guy released?
Yeah, that was another thing I wanted us to talk about, was Oliver Anthony's song. Yeah,
I've listened to it. I like it a lot. It reminds me of old school country music.
Yeah.
I like, there's some ham-fisted stuff in there, of course.
Yeah,
as with all music.
Yeah.
But
he's actually singing about
something. But for the most part, but he has fantastic vocals. I think he's a really good singer.
Yeah.
But it's like, but I've heard a lot of people on both sides. They're like, yeah, like, I agree with everything he just said.
That was another thing. I think the biggest thing that is going to a through line between everybody is we're all working very hard
for not a whole lot.
A whole lot. and what we do get is text to no end.
Right. The main people, and once again, I find this to be extremely telling, is that the main people that have had issues with this are champagne socialists.
Oh, yeah. Limousine liberal?
Yeah. It's been a lot of people that are...
people who are benefiting from that taxation have an issue with it.
People that are college educated, people that work 6-figure jobs, and people that are really removed from what's kind of actually going on.
Yeah.
It seems like it's across those three things. Those are the people that seem to always poo-poo the working class.
Yep.
It's really amazing to me how many of them...
They are the wealthy elite that they bitch about.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you are the wealthy elite.
The worst one is Hassan Piker.
Hassan Piker!
I'm going to kill you! I love that video because he's so fucking pink. And the camera zooms in, and it's nothing but pink screaming flesh.
No, at your house in Los Angeles.
No, in real life.
But it's like that kind of stuff. It's just people that are removed from. They're removed from what a lot of people are facing, what a lot of people are experiencing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least that's how I see it. I don't know if that's actually the truth, but.
And a lot of it too is these publications that, like New York Times or Rolling Stone. Remember when Rolling Stone used to be kind of like counterculture?
Yes.
Now it's just fucking corporate shills and just this fucking insane leftist ideology shit that you see come through all the time.
The craziest thing to me is that I remember growing up, and I remember the Republican side were pro-corporate.
Yeah.
Pro-corporation.
There's definitely been a shift.
And then all of the sudden, it's like the left is pro-corporation? What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
What is going on? That is fucking astonishing. Like, I understand it, like being a Republican and pro-corporation, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, the Republican Party has made policy that has benefited corporations.
Deregulation
and stuff like that. Whereas, like, the Democrats said, that makes no fucking sense to me.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can come up with is that they're cutting shit under the table.
Oh, yeah. They're being bought. Yeah.
That's the only reasonable explanation for why it is that the left is so pro-corporation at this point. That blows my fucking mind.
And it's so pro-war, too.
And pro-war, that's another thing.
Yeah.
It is fucking wild.
I don't know what happened. It seems like in the past 4 to 5 years is where it has really changed.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened. It's one of the most insane things I've ever seen. And, you know, it's kind of you know, interesting, too. I see that the left now is very militant and very active and very vocal and very loud. And when I look at the right, they're all spineless.
Yeah.
Especially the politicians. Those fucking conservative politicians all have this
just
fucking...
like this milquetoast...
They have these do-nothing terms. They go in there, they nothing happens. They fold to everything. They just... I don't know what the fuck happened to them. They're gutted.
No.
I don't know what happened. Actually, I tell you what, I think what happened is I think Donald Trump happened.
Yeah.
I think that Donald Trump took all the steam out of Republican selves.
Yeah.
Because any Republican politician right now knows that if it came down to an election between them or Donald Trump, it's Donald Trump.
Right.
Because they have seen what his corner looks like.
Right.
So I think that's what happened. I honestly think that Donald Trump has ruined Republicans.
Yeah, I mean,
not because he gave them a bad name or whatever.
No, he's exposed them for not doing anything.
Yeah, he just took so much of their support.
Right.
And now that he's not in the game anymore, I mean, I think technically he's still running, but he has all those indictments, whatever. Yeah. Once he's gone, I honestly believe that if Donald Trump is no longer an option, his supporters are still going to be his supporters.
Right.
They're not going to turn on, okay, well, who's left? They're not going to do that. They're so fucking vehemently for Donald Trump.
The only one that I can see currently that would be able to take that base would be Vivek.
I think so too, but I think that Vivek is too soft-spoken for Trump supporters. Now let me say, I like the way Vivek speaks.
Right.
I think he's very eloquent. He's very well-spoken.
He's very intelligent.
He's very intelligent. I like that he has a lot of his values are the same values that I have. The importance on like the nuclear families is the most important governance that humanity has. There's a lot of that I agree with him on, but I just don't think that. I think so much of the conservative voting base is not going to vote for him because one, he's young.
Right.
He's real young.
He's like 36, 37.
Yeah. So he's only was like last year was eligible to be president based on age alone. So he's very young, and I think that they are not going to look at him as a strong leader because he is not boastful.
Right.
And also, you have when you go and you campaign, you have to win more than just the people. There's all these lobbyists and corporate the CEOs.
The thing that helps him is that he's also a billionaire.
That's true. Yeah, he also is. He's very
also
wealthy.
worth a lot of money because he's. I think he's like started like 3 or 4 different companies or whatever.
But there's still a lot of power on the table that you have to grab.
Right. Well, I think. I feel like if it came down to it, if we took away like the fervent support for Trump,
if those fucking people could calm down for a second.
If they could calm down for 3 seconds, and like if we could look at Vivek and Trump side by side, I think Vivek wins by a fucking landslide as far as like what I would want a president to be.
What I would want a president to be for sure.
I think he would be very like statesman.
Yeah.
Like he's very eloquent. He speaks well.
He would hold the position with some reverence.
Right.
Unlike Donald Trump, who came through there like
feeding all of them fucking. He had Alabama come up there and he fed them like McDonald's and Taco Bell and like the football team.
Oh yeah, what was it? It was who won the
it was like the
SEC championship or whatever it is.
No, it was the national title.
The national title? Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, they came to the fucking White House.
Like Big Macs.
Donald Trump put on this big feast for him, and it was just this fucking. It's one of the funniest fucking pictures of Donald Trump standing there in front of like this like lace doily table with all like this pewter and silver like dishware, and it's just fucking Big Macs and like Taco Bell. And the funny thing is like everybody gave him so much shit for that. But all the players that they asked were like, it was fucking amazing. Like one dude was like, I ate like 40 bean burritos.
Oh god!
Like y'all are just mad you weren't invited.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wish that his base would calm down for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
That way we could have a legitimate discussion on who, honestly, I think at this point, from what I understand, is that Vivek is more or less running to be VP on the ticket.
I think it's his best possible outcome.
I think
just because of Trump supporters.
Right. And I think if that's what he's trying to do, and he's trying to move into being the president, if that's what his end goal is, and like
I think he would be a very active VP too.
Yeah, I think that if he gets on the Trump ticket and he's the VP there, I think that if he does a really, really good job as VP, not only that, but I think it would also help him see whether or not he wants to be president.
Yeah.
I was like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and he might get in there and see, I don't want any part of this.
Fuck this.
Yeah, I don't want any part of this.
Also, he's going to have to work with Trump for 4 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he'll do a much better job than fucking Pence did. Pence was a fucking do-nothing VP.
He was, like I said, he's another one of those do-nothing conservatives.
The only reason why they even brought him on was for the evangelicals. That was the only reason why they fucking brought him on.
Yep. He was like some big pray the gay away thing with him or something like that. Yeah, he's a sold out, soulless conservative, just like all the rest of them are.
Well, I was watching. They had something where they were doing some type of like it was like RNC, like meet and greet hello thing that they were doing, like where they're like introducing the candidates or whatever.
Yeah.
And Tucker was the person that was like interviewing all of them. So
I saw that.
Yeah. And where Pence goes, he's like, I don't care about that.
Yeah. What was it they were talking about?
There was a question.
It was really.
He's like, I'm not concerned with that.
That's not my priority.
Yeah.
It was something
to do with, like, he's like, you're sending all this money to Ukraine. He's like, when we have, like, a fentanyl problem over here.
Yeah. That's
and
what
he
it
was like, there's people in the streets. And he's like, are you not concerned about this? He's like, that's not my concern at all.
Yeah.
He's like, we can't do two things at once. It's like, no, motherfucker.
I love Tucker 2.0.
Yeah.
When he was freed from the shackles of Fox News, he immediately just started swinging his dick around at everybody.
But it was also very telling. Like, I watched a couple of them. Pence's was fucking awful, and then but Vivek's he did really well.
Yeah,
he did really well.
Well, I've seen a lot of videos, too, of Vivek being confronted by, very emotionally charged, like, left-leaning individuals who will show up to, like, his little rallies and his speeches and everything, and they'll start yelling and causing a scene, and he'll take the time to address them and be like, look, tell me what's going on with you. Tell me what you're thinking. Like, let's have a conversation. And I've seen a few times now where he's actually been able to kind of, break the tension with these people and speak to them. And a lot of the issue is that these people feel unheard.
Right. Yeah, there was one where he was like talking to some girl, and she was asking something about like gay marriage, and he's like, you don't understand. He's like, I don't. He's like, I have no problem with gay marriage. She's like, where did you get this information from?
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't? He's like, no.
No, like I've never said that.
He's like, I've never said that.
Yeah.
She's like, oh.
Yeah, I was told that by all the different publications that I read.
Yeah, and then he like talked to her, and then like not only that, but then he also like engaged her like on like other subject, and then like talked to her more about that.
Yeah.
And it was very telling to like see him do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He seems more like what a president should be, just in the way that he kind of carries himself.
Right.
And I feel like we haven't seen that in a real long time.
Right.
Because the last couple people we had have been a bunch of fucking bozos. Like you have fucking Joe Biden, who is just a dementiatic geriatric idiot. Then you had Donald Trump, which I don't need to tell you why Donald Trump wasn't very presidential. Obama to some degree was, but also he had like this little bit of smugness about him,
right,
that I found to be really off-putting.
Right.
Then you had George Bush, who
he said, fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah.
Fool me twice, can't get fooled again.
Yeah, he dropped a bunch of little golden nuggets like that all the time. And of course, before him was with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Was it Bill Clinton before
George
George
was Bill
Bush?
Clinton before him.
So, I think maybe George Sr. was the last one.
Yeah, but he also puked in the Japanese prime minister's lap at that.
What?
Yeah, you've never seen that video?
No.
Yeah, they were at like a dinner at the White House, and Senior, I guess, got some food poisoning.
Yeah.
And like the Japanese prime minister was sitting there, he went,
oh no! Oh no! I think we're about to have some company, everybody. Oh. What was this? Hey, all right. Yes, there's Go See Wes.
hello.
Go See Wes. Say, we got groomed yesterday.
You
We're nice
did.
and clean.
Hello.
All right, and we're back. Mary had to go somewhere, so the dogs are down here with us. So I apologize in advance if you hear any hacking or coughing or farting or whatever kind of noise these little assholes are going to make. But before we run out of too much time, because we're getting towards the end here, we still need to. Whoops, press the wrong button. We still need to talk about our Super Cringe Thursday pick.
Yes.
So why don't you take this one?
Yeah, so for those of you that have not seen the video, I implore you to go to the Facebook page and
it's a short one.
See it. It's rather short. It doesn't take very long. Not too much of your time.
Yeah. Lull it down.
This particular one.
Lull, breathing right in the mic. Get down.
This particular one it's It's cringe in a couple different ways, I suppose.
Yeah.
Number one, you look like an asshole.
You do look like an asshole. You're like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
He thought he looked so cool. You could just see it on his face. He was like, I'm the coolest.
Yeah. It's a gentleman that I'm assuming is going to be fighting some type of like UFC MMA style fight.
It looks kind of amateurish.
Yeah, there's like a belt involved, I guess, with this fight. And they like shake hands and they like go to stand to take the picture. And the guy, at first I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
And then I look and he's got a syringe pressed all the way into his neck.
I think it's one of those like trick syringes. Like I don't think he. I don't
you
really
watch it again, and as he pulls it out, there's skin that comes with it.
Really?
Yes.
So he actually injected himself with something?
Yeah, right next to this artery.
Yeah, like the carotid artery. Like I thought it was one of those trick ones, you know, where the needle goes back up inside.
No, like if you watch it again, there's like skin that like pulls as he's pulling the needle out of his neck.
What could it have possibly been? It was bright green. It's not just water with green dye. I mean, you wouldn't want to stick that in your fucking blood system.
It was surge.
Surge. Sugar. Straight to the blood.
The only thing I can think, like, he had it pressed so far in, it had to have been in his throat.
Yeah, it was.
That needle was like that fucking long.
It was long.
It was massive.
It was like 4 inches at least. And he just, if it's a real needle, that thing went in there a long way.
It was in his neck.
One of our listeners commented, Jason, he said, I want him to lose so bad now, cheesy as fuck. It is cheesy. It's just fucking, I don't know what the fuck he was thinking.
And then it wasn't like only that, but it was like after that, he was like twitching and stuff.
Yeah. I was maybe it actually hurt. He's like, I would assume that this guy probably had some kind of a team behind him, right? Somebody that, like a PR person or something along those lines. I very seriously doubt he ran the syringe idea past those people. And if he did, I very seriously doubt they gave him a green light to do it.
Oh, yeah. I'd be like, don't do that.
Don't inject your neck with something.
Don't do that.
Also, like, what was that pitch? Like,
he's like, sits down, he's like, boy, do I have an idea for you.
Like, yeah, at the weigh-in, I'm going to pull out a syringe of green and stick it in my neck. And it's just like, I can just imagine being the PR guy and hearing him say that and just thinking to yourself, like, I need a new client. Like, this guy is unsalvageable.
Could you imagine doing that and then getting your ass beat?
Oh, yeah, after all that. Yeah.
And just getting like a TKO, like somebody just beats the shit out of you.
What if during the fight he gets punched in the face and his blood is green?
Like punches him in the face and like green shit shoots out of his neck. Yeah, man. I mean, when I saw that at first, like when I realized it was like a real syringe, like a real needle.
I'm gonna have to watch it again because I'm still not sure.
Like a real, like when he pulled that out, like it made me wince. Because I don't do well with that kind of shit anyway. No. Like anything that like enters into somebody's body,
and he just goes straight for it too. Yeah. I mean, he's just like as quick as possible. I said he took a page.
Maybe he was like panicking. He's like, if I'm gonna do this, I gotta get it in there.
Like, I gotta do it quick. Why the neck? Why the neck?
I don't know.
I guess because like he didn't have time to like hold his arm out and like.
He was like pulled out a belt. Like, is he doing heroin?
What if he actually did do heroin? Like maybe right in front of everybody.
That'd been a lot of heroin. He shot it in his neck.
He just immediately dies. He just fucking falls over dead. I'd said he'd taken a page out of Phil Anselmo's playbook because we've said a few times Phil Anselmo, the lead singer from Pantera, broke his fucking neck on stage and went backstage and shot heroin into his neck and then came out and finished the show.
I know I was tempted to post below that. Is there no standard anymore? But I didn't know if anybody was going to get the reference.
I don't know if I would have gotten it.
It's from the song Walk.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've heard.
I figured that one wasn't one of their more well-known hits, so.
Is Walk? No, I'm thinking of 5 Minutes Alone. Because there was one of them where Pantera wrote a song that was like a diss track towards one of their fans' fathers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like, if I'm trying to recount what actually happened, and if I get this wrong, y'all let us know. But like, I think at one of the shows, somebody in the crowd, something happened to them. I think that they died of a heat stroke.
Yeah.
I think. And the guy's father tried to sue the band, and the father was on record saying he wants 5 minutes alone with Phil Anselmo.
No.
Which, no, you don't. Because he's going to shoot heroin into his neck before the fight. And then I think 5 Minutes Alone, that song, which is on Far Beyond Driven, I think.
Yes.
Was about that guy. It was like, yeah, that's what it was, because he also called Phil Anselmo racist, which I'm pretty sure he kind of really is.
Well, there might be some validity.
There might be something to that. Yeah, so there was a whole big stink, but I'm pretty sure that's why that song exists.
Is that the song where he's talking about fucking a dead body? I think that's on the same album, and it's not really like a song. It's more like him talking.
Yeah, I think that's on the same album.
Yeah, like Bottle of Pills or whatever that song.
Yeah, something like that.
I remember when I got that album, and I was like, because that album came out in '93.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't really start listening to I got some thrash metal until I was maybe 2000.
Far Beyond Driven is much.
I was like 11 or 12.
It's much more thrash than like Cowboys from Hell is.
Yeah,
Cowboys from Hell is a bit more like mainstream rock, kind of. It's still heavy metal for sure, to be sure, but it's a lot more mainstream than what Far Beyond Driven was. Like Far Beyond Driven, you had Walk, 5 Minutes Alone. What's another one from that album?
There was another one that was my favorite off that album, and I can't remember what the name of that song is.
It's been a while since I've listened to it. I think my all-time favorite Pantera song, though, is Cemetery Gates.
Yeah, that one's my favorite,
because
too.
I have a real soft spot in my heart for ballads.
Yeah.
And that is an incredible ballad. And Phil Anselmo really, he sings his fucking heart out in that song. Plus, it's a great song about regrets.
Yeah, I think that's probably their best album.
Yeah.
Is Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah. And Cowboys from Hell is so iconic, such an iconic song. Yeah. And their sound, their overall sound in that album is so iconic.
Yeah. Well, that's what
they did the music for a SpongeBob episode.
I thought that Rammstein did.
No, Pantera did.
Was it Pantera?
It was the episode where
was that
Sandy was going into hibernation. Yeah. And Pantera did the music for that episode. You imagine being Pantera and getting a fucking letter or like an email or something from fucking Nickelodeon to want you to come do some music for
Imagine saying that I've got to open this. I don't know what this is about.
Some fucking Nickelodeon exec sitting there, walk on home, boy.
He probably did a line of coke.
Yeah. It's fucking Dan Schneider fucking touching somebody's feet listening to Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah, I think that because I didn't listen to thrash. Would you classify Metallica? I don't think they've always been thrash. Have it? Well,
Metallica has
the Black Album wasn't really thrash.
They were much more thrash, like in their first couple of albums. Then they kind of became like.
They became like heavy metal.
Heavy metal, very very generic, like heavy metal.
Yeah.
Well, I say generic. Generic heavy metal is what Metallica became.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is Metallica set that standard for what is generic first.
Right.
So when I say generic,
you're talking like Load and Reload.
Yeah, like that. And then of course, all of their newer stuff. I listened to Saint Anger the other day.
It's so bad.
Just to see, is it as bad as I remember?
It's bad.
And I was listening to specifically Saint Anger.
Bang, 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 bang.
And I was listening to it, and I'm like, not only does that snare sound like shit, this album is mixed like shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe it's just this particular video that I'm watching.
Yeah.
And so I went and I found the music video for Saint Anger. That's how it was mixed. It sounds so fucking terrible.
Is that the one where they're like at Alcatraz?
Yeah, they're in like a prison. Yeah. It's so fucking bad.
Yeah, even the vocals in that song, like it's very like choppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
I'm
when he's singing Saint Anger around my neck, when he's singing that part, he also has backup vocals of himself going, "You flush it out, you flush it out," but it's off beat. It's not in rhythm. And like it's not mixed in well at all.
And then all of a sudden you hear the sound, bang, bang, bang,
boing,
bang,
boing, boing, boing. Every song on that album has that same shitty snare. Lex, hey, come on, look, we're about to wrap it up. Hop down for a second. You can visit afterwards. He said,
he said no. Yeah, that album it's fucking horrific.
It's terrible.
I think their best one's probably the Black Album.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ride the Lightning.
I was about to say,
good.
I really like Ride the Lightning.
Yeah. I don't know. They had a couple of good albums. I mean, they had the Black Album. That one was good. And they had Ride the Lightning, which was good. And then they had, what's the one with, it's got it's holding the, what's the name of that album?
Oh, shit. What is that called?
Justice for All?
Justice for All? I think so, yeah.
Those are probably my 3 favorite albums that they've done. Garage Inc. was all right.
The funny thing about them is like every album is so different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they never really like stuck with one type of sound, which is okay. I mean, they don't have to do that.
No.
But whatever they were thinking with Saint Anger, I really wish they hadn't done that.
Well, I mean, there are bands that like I can't really tell the difference between. I mean, they all might as well be on one fucking album as far as I'm concerned. It's like Lamb of God. You could take a Lamb of God album if you didn't know.
Samey,
if you didn't know, like you could take and just mix and match anything and just throw it out there.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, this is all from the same album.
Right.
It's like because it all sounds like it's from the same
Breaking
album.
Benjamin is the same way.
Yeah, like Muerta and like. Walk With Me in Hell. I don't think that those might be from the same album.
Yeah.
But like Redneck and like Muerta, like that, they might as well be from the same fucking album.
Right, yeah. One little quick thing before we get out of here. The other day I was going to the grocery store and the radio was on. And that song, Straight Up by Paula Abdul came on.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I have not heard this song in so long. It's been a very long time, you know, where she's like, straight up, now tell me, do you really want to love me forever? The snare in that song it's got to be from like a $100 Casio keyboard. it's like I'm like almost positive you can hear the guy hitting the piano key to make the snare sound.
No.
And they recorded it from the speaker on the keyboard. Because it's like this kind of a sound.
Yeah.
And it's the same exact snare sound, like on every downbeat throughout that entire fucking song. And once I like picked up on it, it was all I could hear. I was like, oh my God, that is horrendous.
Yeah, one last thing I wanted to bring up is since we're on the topic of music, is that did you hear that Creed has made a comeback?
Have they?
Yeah.
And
they're doing a tour and it's starting with a cruise.
Like they're going to be on a cruise?
They're going to be on a cruise. It's essentially going to be a butt rock cruise.
Oh, butt rock cruise. Yeah. All right. How much are tickets? I might want to do that.
I think it's sold out.
Oh,
I don't think there's any tickets left.
Are they going to play Marlins Will Soar?
Because me and Allison were talking the other day because I used to have this like old flip phone.
Yeah.
And that was back in the day when you could like buy a song and have it like as your ringtone. And I had a Paralyzer by Finger 11. And
I remember you having that fucking ringtone. That got old so fast.
And the speaker was so bad on that phone. It was like all treble. It was so loud.
It was like a little like quarter-inch speaker. Like there was no bass to it at all.
It was like so loud.
Yeah.
Because he'd be like, I'm not
Oh, man. I'm not paralyzed, but I seem to be. Yeah.
Were they the same ones that used to be called the Butthole Surfers? Or was that a different band?
That was a different band. Butthole Surfers are the ones that did, they did, oh, fuck, how's that song go? It's going to drive me insane if I don't get this. It's, oh, no. Yeah. I don't mind the sun sometimes, the images it shows.
Oh, yeah.
I can taste you on my lips and smell you in my clothes. That's a good song. I like that song a lot.
I missed the 90s. They had so many good songs that came out during that time. Because you had like... I'm
not the one who's so far away when I feel the snake bite into my veins.
Is that Godsmack?
Is that Godsmack?
I think it's Godsmack.
So.
Yeah, you had like them. You had Glycerine.
Oh, I hate Bush. I hate Bush. Oh, my God, I hate that band.
And then, was it, you had... oh, shit. What was the one? It was the kid that was like 15 years old. And
Frog Stomp.
Yeah, Frog Stomp.
You're going away too fast,
That's such a good song.
Yeah, I wish they would have done more. God, they were incredible. But anyway, that's all the time we got for today.
Reminiscing.
Yeah, that's all we got time for today, everybody. Also, this is episode 78. Sorry we didn't bring the podcast in. We're just not going to get better at that.
Nope. That's always going to be the way that it is.
So, we want to say thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you for always, tuning in and being supportive of the podcast. We really enjoy... is he tilting his head? I'm not talking to you, Lex. We really enjoy doing this, and we're happy that you guys enjoy listening. So if you are enjoying the podcast, if you're new to the podcast, make sure you give us a follow on Facebook, and follow us on whatever your podcast platform is. If you want to get in contact with us and have any questions you'd like to ask or anything you'd like us to talk about, or if we were wrong about anything, make sure you write in, you let us know, and you can email us at thickboypodcast@gmail.com or just message us on Facebook. And I think that's everything I've got. Do you have anything you'd like to close with?
Nope. As always, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a like, rating, review on your preferred podcast platform. I think we're across all platforms. If we are missing any of them that you like to listen to your podcast on, let us know. And
I'm sure we can get on there.
Yeah, we can get on there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, just thank you so much for the continued support. We really do appreciate it. Like Gary said, if we've messed anything up, just send us an email, let us know. If you hate the podcast, let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
We'll read your hate mail.
Yeah.
But just thank you so much. Thank you for the continued support. I know that we're 78 episodes in, and to be honest with you, I'm surprised that people are still listening.
Yeah,
at this
I know,
point,
exactly. So. It's like 78. Y'all still here? Well, all right, everybody. That's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.